Welcome to FI Spotlight. I'm your host, Susan Choi. Each week, we feature a special guest to provide insights on a relevant topic in the food and beverage industry. This week, we will be getting the sharpest insights on the hottest issues facing the food industry today, from notes on the Kroger-Albertsons merger to the food as medicine concept and the future of retail media networks. We are going to hear about it all. Let's bring in our very special guest, the one and only Phil Lempert, the supermarket guru. Phil, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Susan.
It's truly an honor. Can't wait to hear from you. So let's get it started. Let's cover that first very controversial issue we've been seeing in the news today, the Albertsons Kroger merger, the FTC recently filing a lawsuit against that deal. We've also been seeing a few states filing their own lawsuits separately with this proposed merger, hearing about all the concerns that people are worried over, labor, potential labor impacts, antitrust concerns. But Phil, what are your own thoughts about what kind of impact this deal could make?
I think the impact will be huge, first of all. I also think that it will go through. However, there's going to have to be some concessions. Now, if we look at the FTC challenge on this, they're really bringing up some interesting points and some, frankly, that I think are irrelevant. Number one, they're saying that Albertsons and Kroger are fierce competitors. You put them together and they don't have any competition. I'm not sure that I would agree with that 1,000%. Certainly, C&S wholesale grocers have agreed to take over 400 plus stores. That's one aspect of it. But I think what the challenge is going to be is that Rodney McMullen is going to have to say, okay, we're going to divest 600 to 800 stores and going beyond C&S. And frankly, there's a lot of retailers, especially here in Southern California and in California in general, who could pick up 10, 20, 30 stores. And also, I really believe that Amazon Fresh is watching this deal very carefully because they could pick up, because they've got a lot of cash, they could pick up 100 stores or more and finally get some great locations for Amazon Fresh. Now, that's one part of it. The second part that I totally disagree with is the FTC is saying that the quality of products, the quality of the foods that we buy are going to go down as a result of this merger. I don't believe that, and I don't agree with that. What I see is over the past 10, 15 years, store brands, of which the combined company will have over 35,000 SKUs, have been increasing in quality, meeting more consumer needs, more organics, more keto-friendly, more natural products, and the list goes on and on. So I think that, frankly, they're off the mark on that. Third is what they've said is C&S can't handle this kind of acquisition of 400 plus stores. In fact, the chair of the FTC cites a paper that she wrote in the Harvard Business Review back in 2017, which really looked at Albertsons' divestiture of Safeway to Hagen. Hagen was a tiny operator, 18 stores in the Northwest. They couldn't handle it. They went bankrupt. So they're pointing to that. Well, C&S, unlike what the FTC says, the FTC says that they operate 26 stores. They operate Piggly Wiggly and Grand Union over 140 stores. And also they service 7,500 stores with over 100,000 products throughout the U.S. So certainly C&S can absorb and handle another 400 stores. So frankly, I think if Rodney McMullen says, okay, we're going to divest 600 to 800 stores, and we're going to guarantee the prices are going to stay the same or lower it, the deal will go through.
Let's move into the health and wellness space, a certainly growing trend skyrocketing over the past few years. Phil, what are you seeing from where you are? Also, what are your thoughts about trends like the food as medicine concept?
So food as medicine, I think it's the wrong nomenclature for what we're talking about. If you look at the White House initiative and everything that retailers have signed on to, the majority of that, frankly, is about hunger. It's about giving people meals. It's about satisfying those needs from that population. food is medicine is something that retail dietitians have been talking about, for 20, 25 years. It's not something new. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to separate the issue of hunger, which is very important, and food is medicine. So clearly what we're seeing are, especially since the pandemic, more consumers reading labels, really wanting to understand where their food comes from, understanding, frankly, the ethics of the company that are producing that food. And as a result, we're going to have a healthier generation. Now, throw in the mix the new GLP-1 medications, Wegovy, Ozempic, and so on. And right now, about 10 million people have prescriptions for it. It's estimated that there's another 10 to 15 million people who are getting, generic versions of it. And also, New England Consulting Group has said that by the year 2030, it could be up to 30, 35 million people on these prescriptions. That's going to change the way people eat. They're going to eat smaller portions. They're going to be reading labels even with more scrutiny. They're going to be changing the kinds of foods that they eat. So it's a very exciting time in health and wellness. And retailers are stepping up with their programs, whether it's in-store dietitians, whether it's, having their dietitians at a seat at the table on store brands, on corporate initiatives. And also, again, since the pandemic, just about every retailer is now putting information on their website, whether it's video, whether it's chatbots, to really help people understand how to read labels, health and wellness. What's the difference between being a vegan and a vegetarian? Those kinds of basics are finally getting out there.
Interesting stuff. Finally, let's get into retail media networks. That is certainly a very popular trend going on within corporations. You're seeing Amazon engage in it. You're seeing Walmart with their recent buyout of Vizio. That should have a definite impact on their advertising strategy. Phil, what do you make of this whole retail media strategy craze?
Well, I think that it's huge, but it's misguided. So if we take a look, Walmart tried this over 20 years ago. It didn't work. Now, the technology wasn't there yet. So I'll give Walmart, kudos for trying. Today, flat screens, these retailers can buy flat screens for $75. But there's some retailers who are now doing overkill, where there's 100, 200 flat screens in a 40, 50,000 square foot store. It is overwhelming for shoppers. So I think what we really need to do now that supermarkets are saying we want to be in the, retail media business, they've really got to understand what networks are all about. They've got to be able to program during the day parts accordingly. They just can't put up ads that are paid for by brands throughout the day and really attract consumers. My fear, frankly, is that it's overload for consumers and it's going to become invisible. I do believe that there's a role for retail media networks. Absolutely. But I think that the way that retailers are going about it right now is they're just throwing money at it. They're putting up screens and they're not paying enough attention to what the content is on that screen to be able to build a relationship with that shopper, empower that shopper, and educate that shopper.
Well, we will certainly see how the intentionality of their strategy will evolve over time. Phil Lempert, the legendary supermarket guru. Phil, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you, Susan. It's a pleasure, and keep up the great work at Food Institute.
And as always, you can check out all the great content that we've done by clicking on this playlist. Till next time, I'm Susan Choi. Take care and have a great weekend.